Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. You got XRP bucking the trend here. As I record this, XRP is the only top 10 crypto by market cap that's in the green, up about 6%. Actually, just a few minutes ago before I record this video, it was a hair above 6% up over the last 24 hours. Everything else was in the red. Now, technically, Bitcoin's up 0.26%. But really, XRP is the only one performing. And it's also interesting that XRP has been, in terms of institutional money flowing in, an outlier there too, bucking the trend yet there. And so I want to share with you some information about that. And frankly, despite the fact that 2022 was one dumpster fire of a year, and despite the fact we got the SEC v. Ripple case hanging over our heads, 2023 actually, so far, and I'm jinxing it right now, hasn't been that bad, all things considered. We're still waiting for the crypto contagion to spread, though. I want to say something about that before the video's over, too. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Oh, and by the way, it's not just XRP that's been doing pretty well. This year, Flair's Songbird token is up dramatically. And again, I'm not pretending like it hadn't cratered dramatically. Also, its high was like 71 cents and got down to maybe a little bit below a penny at one point. But I did want to say, if you're looking at recent times, it's been outperforming. And yes, it cratered, but so did every other coin on the damn planet, frankly. And there's this headline from the Daily Hodl. Flair network plunges 87% as long-awaited airdrop to XRP holders goes live. And so I'm sure just about 100% of you are now aware, on January 9th, the initial distribution of the Flair token, it was sent out. 15% of total holdings sent out on that date. And the price compared to the IOU for Flair, which had been trading for some time, dropped precipitously. But it wasn't even the same damn ecosystem. It's more like there were two exchanges on the planet that said, here's a representation of Flair. It's an IOU, and it can be traded for actual Flair once you have it, once it's available anyway. But it was a completely different ecosystem with completely different supply and demand dynamics, nowhere near a global presence. And so is it at all surprising that they had these two little exchanges where they just had their own little ecosystems there? And then when you have a global ecosystem suddenly come online, it's way different. Is anybody actually surprised by this? So they say it's down 87%. That's not actually true, because on January 9th, before it was live, before it was traded on any exchange, the Flair token was worth $0.00. It didn't have an open market price because nobody owned it. Nobody had it to sell. It was worth $0.00, just like back in the day before XRP was listed on an exchange. XRP used to be worth $0.00. And then it had an open market price. And Flair had an open market price. And now Flair is worth a lot more than zero. It's not worth a ton, but it's worth a lot more than zero. And in fact, over the last 24 hours, even Flair is up a fair bit. Look at this. The Flair token is actually up since 24 hours ago, 26.53%. And so I know a bunch of people wanted to sell it. A lot of people don't care about it, but a lot of people do care about it. And a lot of people like me want to have very broad exposure when it comes to the crypto asset class. So whatever you want to do, all good in my book. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. But I'm going to continue to just hold this thing and see what the hell happens. I want broader exposure to the crypto asset class. And it seems promising, so we will see what happens there. And then there's also this, and I don't feel like I need to read through all these articles, but sometimes the headlines just, they say a sufficient amount. They kind of, sometimes it says it all. But from the Crypto Basic, here's the headline. XRP now ranks as 5th crypto asset by trading volume on Binance. Well, how about that? And that's the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange by volume, by the way. And XRP was supposed to be worth $0.00 yet again by now, wasn't it? After the SEC came on the attack. Here's another headline from the Crypto Basic. XRP now most traded token among top 100 BSC whales. How many articles have I highlighted that show just on-chain analytics? In this case, you're talking about BSC whales, but how many articles have been highlighting over the last month or two in particular, highlighting how whales are behaving when it comes to the accumulation of XRP? I don't know what the number is, but it keeps coming up. I'm just looking at how they're behaving. And then I look at how the typical retail investor behaves. It is markedly different, just saying. And then there's this from the Crypto Basic. XRP starts 2023 with $3 million in inflows in week 1, bucking the overall market trend. And so in this case, I don't need to read the article for this either. I just want to make a broader point. We're talking about money flowing in on an institutional level, money flowing in. And this is during bear market territory with all the other nonsense and garbage, the scary headlines about the SEC associated with XRP currently. Still this happens. That's worth highlighting. I'm just saying. That's why I started the video by stating, look, I'm not thrilled with everything going on just like you aren't. But all things considered, I mean, 2023 could have started out worse. I'm just saying. Now, as far as things getting worse, not to be a little Debbie Downer here, but that crypto contagion thing, can we talk about that? Because it hasn't spread very far. After FTX's collapse, you saw, what have we seen? Well, what have we seen? You saw, BlockFi, because they basically got bought out by FTX. They didn't know they were getting bought out by a Ponzi scheme, but they were, and perhaps they should have known. But setting that aside, they were. So BlockFi's gone now, going the way of the dodo, my favorite extinct avian creature, by the way. That's a fun little fact about me. But then there's Genesis. We know that Genesis, by all accounts, it's not a secret, seems to be completely insolvent. And that's major. That's a major firm that all sorts of other gigantic institutional level entities and cryptocurrency exchanges count on and parked a lot of money with, and Genesis doesn't have it. So how does that not shake out? I mean, unless you think, and this would be so super duper weird, like if Genesis does collapse, we see that actually happen because there's no one to bail it out. There's that because the money's gone. There's like a gigantic hole in the balance sheet. If it collapses and we don't see, prices for crypto globally break a sweat, that would be the weirdest damn thing to me. I mean, you'd be talking about that would be proof that this concern was actually baked into existing cryptocurrency prices. But do you actually think that's the case? Maybe some of you do. I'm not convinced of that. My bet here is that it's, even if it's baked in for some people to some degree and people are hedging their bets as a result of all the nonsense going on right now, okay, fine. But you don't think people are going to be scared at all when there's a collapse? Like, what are the ramifications going to be? There's going to be real people recognizing the degree to which they're distraught. How's that going to impact them? Like, even if you just lose some of your money because, say, you were using Gemini's Earn program, which relied on Genesis. Maybe it wasn't your entire crypto net worth. How's that? Is it going to make them panic even? I don't know. I don't know how the humans are going to behave. I'm just saying, if you look at every time there was a major collapse last year, it wasn't baked in. Even after the initial collapse of Luna, nothing else was baked in. Market collapsed every single damn time. But it's not going to this time? I'm not thinking so, and it's not going away. Don't think just because a couple months have passed since FTX collapsed that we no longer have to worry about contagion stuff. And I'll get to this in a second too, but even Coinbase thinks that there's a serious concern the contagion can and will spread. So anyway, look at this headline from the Daily Huddle. Cameron Winklevoss tells Digital Currency Group to fire Barry Silbert, says fraud committed against Gemini users. Fraud, my friends. The founder of one of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world is urging Digital Currency Group to fire its CEO Barry Silbert over issues surrounding Genesis. Last week, Gemini founder Cameron Winklevoss wrote an open letter posted to social media blaming DCG founder Silbert for the collapse of the Gemini Earn program. Under the Earn program, Gemini partnered up with crypto lender Genesis to provide traders with up to 8% returns on their holdings. However, earlier this month, Genesis announced that FTX's collapse greatly affected its finances and it could no longer pay out investors of Gemini's Earn program. Genesis's parent company is DCG. In another open letter to Twitter, Winklevoss addresses the board of directors at DCG. As in last week's letter, Winklevoss pins the blame of Genesis's failure on Silbert. And this is a quote. In June 2022, the music stopped. Three Arrows Capital collapsed, laying bare the poisonous fruits of this radioactive trade. Instead of stepping up to solve this self-created problem, and despite having earned more than $1 billion in fees, all at the expense of Genesis lenders, Barry refused to take responsibility. Instead, he resorted to committing fraud to protect his ill-gotten gains. End quote. So now you have an official fraud allegation against Barry Silbert from one of the Winklevoss twins. That's not a soft word. That's not a small claim. Piece continues. Ultimately, Winklevoss asks the DCG board to fire Silbert in order to maintain some sort of path forward. Quote, the path forward. For all the reasons mentioned above, there is no path forward as long as Barry Silbert remains CEO of DCG. He has proven himself unfit to run DCG and unwilling and unable to find a resolution with creditors that is both fair and reasonable. As a result, Gemini, acting on behalf of 340,000 EARN users, requests that the board remove Barry Silbert as CEO effective immediately and install a new CEO who will right the wrongs that occurred under Barry's watch. Genesis lenders, including EARN users, have been seriously harmed and deserve a resolution for the recovery of their assets. I am confident that with new management at DCG, we can all work together to achieve a positive, out-of-court solution that will provide a win-win outcome for all, including DCG shareholders, end quote. Okay, I don't know where that optimism is coming from. I mean, optimism's super duper at all if it's properly placed. But how do you fix the hole on the balance sheet? Where does the money magically come from? Is there a path forward where, despite the harm, you can actually, in some reasonable amount of time, whatever that might mean to people, have a profitable business model? And it's just going to fill that hole, and then everything's going to be okay? Fat chance. Okay? Fat freaking chance. I won't be surprised if there's lawsuits here. And you know, maybe even before it gets to the lawsuit phase, maybe there's an official collapse. And then what's that going to do? And then what breaks after that? How far does the contagion spread? Because look, again, if the contagion has already spread as far as it's going to spread, what in the ever-loving hell? I don't understand that's possible. If I'm wrong, fine. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't see how. How could anyone think that it's already done? And I'll tell you who doesn't think that it's over. Coinbase. Here's the headline from New York Post. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong blames unscrupulous actors for latest layoffs. I want to cover with you just a part of this article, and a lot of it is, like, the thrust of it is with the state of things being as they are in crypto, FTX collapse, how it's harmed Coinbase. But a point on this topic is contagion fears. So check this out. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong appeared to blame disgraced FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried after his struggling company announced another round of sweeping layoffs on Tuesday. Armstrong, an outspoken critic of Bankman-Fried, referenced recent upheaval in the cryptocurrency industry stemming from FTX's collapse, while confirming Coinbase has slashed about 950 workers, or roughly 20% of its overall workforce. In 2022, the crypto market trended downwards along with the broader macroeconomy, Armstrong said in a blog post. We also saw the fallout from unscrupulous actors in the industry, and there could still be further contagion. And that's a quote. That's Brian Armstrong, founder and CEO of Coinbase, expressing concerns, the same concern I'm expressing, which is further contagion spread. How do we not see that? I don't get it. How could there not be? Because think about this too, and if you think that this is all, even if you are one of the people who thinks that this is all baked in already, which I don't think evidence shows that's how humans bake. It's like when the bad news truly breaks, that's when it goes. Like when the news broke about the concerns surrounding Genesis, we didn't see a completely catastrophic additional drop, and it was not long after FTX had gone bankrupt at that point. So we were on the heels of that news, but we didn't see like an in-kind drop or anything like that. So how could it be baked in if when the news broke, nothing to that degree even happened as a result? So that's another reason I think it also doesn't make sense. So unless you think that somehow this hole gets plugged and it actually goes away, and if it does, great, super duper. I would love for that to happen. We'd all love for that to happen. How? It sounds like a fantasy land. So that's why I'm just saying, I don't see how things end up getting worse for the asset class as a whole, but it's also the case that if that happens, I'm telling you what I'm doing. I ain't going to be fearful at all. I have a bunch of additional capital still sitting on the sideline. I deployed a bunch of it in November, But if we get another drop, as people panic sell, I understand it's not the end of the crypto asset class. I will deploy the massive quantity of capital that I have sitting in my personal checking account. So even if my net worth goes down as a result of such a thing happening, I'll still be excited. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be crying about the realities of the world. I'm an adult, and I'm still going to be optimistic for the future. I'm a big picture type of guy. I'm not going to wallow in misery over short-term nonsense that doesn't actually impact me in any sort of material way, because yes, net worth goes down on paper. I don't need to pull that out and turn it into cash or anything else. I just want the exposure to the damn asset class because it's extremely volatile, and volatility is the purpose of investing. And I think over the long haul, the trend is going to be dramatically to the upside, just as it has for 14 freaking years to this point. I'm not worried about it. I'm ready for it. And there's so many reasons to be optimistic. I'm very optimistic also about how the SEC v. Ripple case is going to conclude. And maybe it goes disastrously, in which case we got a lot to talk about, but I'm optimistic. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.